It's funny, going back to like when we first started, people would ask you your opinion, and you'd probably go into a good half-hour spiel about how you felt the market was and where you think it's going to go. As a developer, you want to get the funds in as quickly as possible. The client wants to take ownership of the property as quickly as possible, and you see a small opportunity, you're going to have to take it.
But yeah, 42 million, it's pretty insane.
Is it nice?
But I think it'll probably sell on completion.
Yeah.
So we didn't, to be honest, we were going to keep it. Kareem wanted that one.
It'd be interesting if you actually kept some of the units for completion.
I know.
Because given how like the market works,
I know.
Up to the point of completion when things become mortgageable, the prices spike. Look at Mira, for example. Remember Mira? Pre-completion, the prices were just going wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that was quite a while ago. But
it's even like just to take some myself. Like looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking?
Because did you not take one?
No. Well, no. We did somewhere. We took some units back and resold them, but we didn't. Because you just. The thing is, so many people were saying like you can't sell at those prices, and but then I increased by Tower 2 by 35%.
Yeah. So
it was almost like the guys in Tower 1 that had bought on the Creekside, they'd automatically made 30% easily.
So if we get any cancellations,
yeah,
me and you.
So there's going to be, for sure, there'll be people that can't pay.
Yeah.
We're seeing it now. Like there's people that we know, because we opened ACO to manage the resales in that project. So we're going to have an ACO office in the project when it hands over. So anyone, when they come to do the handover, we'll be there with them to do the snagging. And we'll just...
You'll probably find a lot of these people might buy another one.
100%.
If you give them a good price.
100%. So when we'll meet with them, if they're interested, I'll just say, interested to sell or rent, just go and sit with the guys in the office. We'll talk through the market. Even short-term rental, we'll open a company for that as well.
Yeah.
With 280 units, a large amount of them are going to be short-term.
It's an amazing location for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right by the airport.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's 10 minutes to downtown DIFC.
Yeah. Count me in.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep
for the cancellation side.
But there's it's 50% as well. So anyone that can't get a mortgage,
right?
Anyone that can, there's going to be a lot of business, and we need to sign up with.
Yeah, definitely. I think 50% is a lot easier for non-residents, for business owners and employed. At 50%, it's fairly straightforward. Yeah, absolutely. As long as we can justify the income, there won't be a problem at all.
So we could probably try and work something out where we send an email ahead of the payment to say these are our partners.
Yeah. So what we do with other developers is we take part of the handover process. And with the handover process, as a developer, you want to get the funds in as quickly as possible. The client wants to take ownership of the property as quickly as possible. So we'll work with a few banks and say, we've got 250 units, we want to get these financed. What special offers can you give us?
Because you're doing volume with them.
Because you're doing the volume, and if it's all 50%, and you might find some people want to release equity as well, but you can really build it into your handover process. So typically, 30 days before handover, you get your notification, don't you?
Yeah.
So at that point, your notification and here's your finance options. It's all about streamlining that process.
Yeah. So it's like, this is the amount due.
Yeah. This is what a mortgage will look like.
But this is what your mortgage will look like. Speak to these guys, it should be a lot.
We'll just a white label system with Holo.
And
they can just go on the platform, upload the documents, pre-approval, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, well that's something, it's crazy because it's been on my mind, but like the fact that you've come in, it's probably going to lead to a lot of business.
I hope so. I mean, that's why we need to all meet as many people in the market. Quite often you sit in your office and you get carried away with work within the office, but when you actually meet people, that's when most opportunities come up.
When you look back, it's like how I met Kareem and how we did this project. It all came from a guy that I played football with, Alex, who worked at Dubizzle, because Kareem had his project in JVT.
Yes.
And he was selling that, and Alex was helping him advertise on Dubizzle.
Right.
So I was playing football with him. I used to car share with him to football, and he's like, "You've got to meet Kareem. He's a really cool guy. You'll like him."
Yeah.
So I went and met him, and we just got on really well.
Yeah.
And then I started taking clients to him, and I saw that he was really great with the clients. That I've never seen a developer personally meet the clients, and he was like so different in terms of like it'll be ready. The guy was like, "Look, I've got my rental. I need to know when I can move in." He was like, "Look, any issues, I'll cover your rent payment, basically. That's
It's
how much.
creating that flexibility
Yeah.
as well. And as you say, there's not many developers that will directly come and meet the customers.
And he was so
and
hands-on,
negotiate.
and you could tell he was a bit perfectionist. And we just kept in touch, and then, but it's mad because you think, I didn't play for that football team. Where would I be now?
Yeah, those opportunities.
If I didn't message you the other day to come in, and then we do this, like, what would I, it's mad.
Like, where would you have ended up?
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like the butterfly effect.
Yes.
Like some little small things happen. Even when you think like coming to Dubai, it's mad.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the start of our journey in Dubai and the events that took place, had it not been for those events, what would have happened?
It's insane,
the people that you meet, we look at the group that was around us when we first moved here. We all talk to each other, and what you tend to find is every single one of us is working within a different company, and we can all support each other. And that's something that we probably need to do a lot more of.
It's a skill. I think it's all just knowing that there's opportunity out there if you just keep in touch with people.
And get out the office.
Get out of the office and meet people. And we spoke about this. This is the 4th episode now we've done with ACO with this podcast. And every single episode we've had a bit of this conversation where it's like, because Lynette, Lynette, we've done 2 deals with her company now.
Nice.
All from just like a chance meeting in DIFC.
And what company is this?
So it's Real Trust, so they're escrow agents.
I've seen it. I don't know Lynette personally, but I've seen what she's doing, and it looks
amazing.
fantastic.
Really good service. The fact that they can just handle everything in the process. So we had a buyer and seller, both out of country. I transacted super smooth. The buyer transferred to escrow. They managed it. They even did. I didn't do anything. I didn't go to transfer. I literally did it.
Managed the whole process.
It was so easy.
It's something that was so needed in the Dubai market is a proper escrow agent that's trusted and can manage those funds. We've seen many transactions where deposits get sent to real estate companies or the seller will deposit the check, for example. It doesn't really leave anybody safe.
No.
So having an escrow, third party safety makes
100%.
absolute sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But tell me about, so I always like to go into why Dubai and how it happened, because I find it interesting. I feel like we're all, like you were talking about our group of friends and stuff, we're all on the same mindset of wanting to better ourselves, but how did it come about for you, Dubai?
It's an interesting one. I've been coming to Dubai since 1999 with my family on holiday. Strange place to come on holiday.
Was it like one hotel to go to?
Literally, I mean, you'd stay up in the creek, and then over the years, you'd see Dubai move down Sheikh Zayed Road. So I think 1999 is when the Fairmont was built, just beside the Shangri-La, top of Sheikh Zayed Road.
Okay.
So we started gradually moving down as the hotels were moving down. Funny story, I remember we wanted to go to Hard Rock. I don't know if you remember, Hard Rock was in the marina at that point. And at that stage, it seemed so far away. And we got in a taxi and there was a bit of a sandstorm. We're driving down this road for about half an hour, Sheikh Zayed Road at that point. There's no buildings left or right. You maybe
just
had
2 lanes or
just
one lane.
a few car garages. We thought we were getting abducted. I was like, what is happening here? Because there was a sandstorm, you couldn't see much. But then eventually we saw there was 2 big guitars at the top of it. And we seen them and we were like, right, we are actually going to the right place here. So for years and years, we used to come back. We loved the service. We loved to see the changes every year. And post coming out with my family, I came out with my partner, my now wife. And in 2013, we came out on holiday. And it's at that point, I got a message whilst I was here saying, do you want to come for an interview? And I thought, I have quite a secure job back home. I worked in the bank. Do I want to go for an interview? I've always wanted to work abroad. But I thought,
how did you get the message?
I can't remember. I think I just reached out to a few companies. And
put your CV out on.
It just seemed I didn't say I was coming to Dubai. It was just the timing, as if fate happened. We talk about, the actions that we take that get us to the points where we are today. And it was a lady that we both know that reached out.
Aruna?
No, it was... No.
I know what you mean. Okay.
We know who we're talking about. Anyway, she reached out, and I remember I didn't have any clothes with me apart from I had a shirt and a pair of jeans, and I said to her, listen, I'm not dressed for an interview, but I'll come in. Went in for an interview.
So you were on holiday?
I was on holiday, yeah.
Okay.
I was staying down in the marina and came back from the interview, had a really good chat. I'd actually been interviewed for the real estate position, but given my experience, they had an internal mortgage team, as you know. So after I left, they messaged me saying, you know, maybe we should go for the mortgage option, which was better for me. I would have preferred that anyway. But at that point, I said no. It's not going to work for me.
In the bank in the UK, you were doing mortgages.
Doing mortgages in the UK. So I started in debt collection in 2008.
Okay.
Then moved into mortgages. Post that, kind of moved through the different departments. Started in Lloyd's Banking Group. There was changes within Lloyd's and TSB. There was mergers, separations. I did a stint at Black Horse Finance, which did car finance, and then I ended up in Scottish Widows before moving to Dubai. So always within banking. I hadn't been in what I would call a sales environment. Yeah. It was, you know, when you work in a bank, it's very much the customer comes to you, the brand's there, the you know, you do a good service, it's going to go through, it's not a problem at all. So it was an eye-opener coming out. But going back to the situation of coming out, I'd said no. I was not ready to make that move across. But then went back to the UK.
So you had the interview and said no?
I had the interview, said no. Went back to the UK, and first day back at work at Scottish Widows, something happened and I thought, I've made the wrong decision here. And I just wrote up my resignation, handed it in on the spot, first day. Wow. Didn't tell my now wife, didn't tell my parents. I was like, I'll deal with that afterwards. And yeah, a month later, I was in Dubai working for that company. I'd reached back out and said, you know what, I do want to take that job. And that's when obviously we all met, formed a lot of friendships. And the beautiful thing about Dubai, you'll agree, when you're in that environment, everyone's in the same situation. Yeah. Everyone has that hunger that you've come out and you're literally starting your life again. I was 23, 24 at the time. Had that hunger and passion to make a difference. A lot of lessons were learned, a lot of eye-opening lessons. It's a different environment working here. And we mentioned earlier on, fortune favours the brave, and it's about not giving up. I think we've all had our moments where we thought, we're down to our last resorts here, and you know, fight or flight. We've all got a fight or flight in us. Fortunately for us, the fight persevered. And yeah, I've never looked back since. It's been an amazing journey since then. Yeah,
it was some good times. And you know what? At the time, in the moment, when you look back, it was like that was the best time.
Oh,
like, but in the moment, it's like it was really stressful, and you just.
It was the hardest time.
It was really hard.
But in that moment, it was so exciting. It was so fast-paced, so enjoyable that the struggles that we went through, that was just part of the enjoyment that we were going through as well. I remember we were in the office till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night regularly. I mean, you don't tend to see that much anymore with a lot of these companies, but we had that drive that this needs to work. There's no going back home here. This is going to work for us. I'm not going back to the UK with my tail between my legs. This is going to be something that works for us, which is why those long hours. And don't get me wrong, we worked hard and we enjoyed ourselves at the same time. But if it hadn't been for those long hours, I don't think we would be in the positions that we are today.
No, 100%. I remember my first sale actually, and I was just, because everything's just cold calling and just nothing was happening, and I was thinking, is this even real? Like, can you actually just call someone and sell a property? I don't know how it's going to work. And I remember just calling one guy in the UK, because it was about 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I just gave it to him, like really, really pitched hard on this Palm Views studios. They weren't handed over yet, so they were new.
How much were they? Like 900 at the time?
About $1 million.
About
$1 million. I think like $1.02 million or something. And told him how good of an investment it was, and he went, "Sounds great. Yeah, let's do it." And I was like, I don't know what to do next. I was like, what the hell? I remember putting the phone down and like running around the office. No one else was there. I was like, what the hell? And then I called Wes, who was the manager, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? I need to understand. And then I remember Arnie rented the property off the guy.
I remember that. Do you know what? If you held on to one of those units,
I know.
Fantastic.
It's crazy,
Airbnb really now.
But I remember, so then from that point, market was just going down and down and down. And I always felt like I was helping the sellers get out of a bad situation. And then when the market shifted, it was hard mentally to shift and kind of see it as the buyers are getting a really good deal. I still kind of felt like the sellers are getting out. And I found it easier to really convince the sellers that it's a good time. But obviously it wasn't. After COVID, it was like a bad time for sellers to get out. But
I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. That's the beautiful thing
Yeah.
about the situation.
You just have to do the best you can in the moment for both
Exactly.
sides, and the market's going to be the market, right?
It's funny, going back to like when we first started, people would ask you your opinion, and you'd probably go into a good half-hour spiel about how you felt the market was and where you think it's going to go. And realistically, in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Because
You don't know.
We don't know.
No one knows.
You know, we went into a 10-year decline in 2014.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just post-COVID that it went up. It's funny, you talk about first customers. One of my first customers bought a Palm Views as well. It wasn't his first purchase, but one thing for me was always customer service, and I know it is for you as well.
Yeah.
And building those relationships, because people come back to you.
Yeah.
One of my first customers is still a friend of mine to this very day. We meet up, not as much as we used to, but we meet up regularly, and I've been here 12 years. One of my first mortgages, he's done 4 or 5 transactions with me. And for me, it's not about commission, it's about that relationship. And now when I help him out, it's because it's my friend. It was a customer, now become a friend. But it's amazing to see that if you do put in that good effort at the start, the good customer service, put the decisions and the interest of the customer at heart, at the forefront of the decision, they'll always come back.
I watched something the other day, and it was Rory Sutherland, and he talked about, have you heard of him?
I've not.
Marketing guy, Ogilvy Marketing, and he talked about, there was the number one car salesman in America, whoever he was.
Sorry, I think I do know who you're talking about,
Rory Sutherland. Quite interesting the way he approached when he looks at some situations, and he said, look, the guy would never think about how to sell the first car. His approach was, how do I sell this guy his next car? So what he would do is, like you said, not build relationships, build trust. But one thing what I thought was interesting, what he'd say, what do you want the car for? And then it'd be like, just family, general, going to work stuff. It's like, well, you don't need these extra packages. Rather than everybody else in the office was selling the extra packages to get the better commissions, he was doing the opposite and like reducing stuff, which builds massive trust. And then he, after his first 3 years didn't look great, but then because of the relationships he got from giving the right kind of, putting the client's interests first, and it's just
it's exactly that. I mean, that 3 years was our first 3 years, wasn't it? Where, certainly for me, went through the struggles, went through the trials, tribulations of trying to get your sales numbers up. But you can make a quick buck in Dubai, there's no doubt about that. You can come here for a year, you can make a lot of money, but it'll only last a year, maybe 2 at a push. But if you want to be here for 5, 10...
You're on that wheel because every deal needs to be a new client, because you can't ignore the relationships, because people don't trust you, they're not coming back to you, they feel like that you've screwed them in some way. And it might be a year after you've done the deal, but they'll speak to a friend and they'll be like, that you paid over the market for that, or you whatever. You paid extra commission you didn't even know.
I believe a big testament to a good service and good service that you've provided is your customer recommending you to friends. And when we look at our business right now as it stands, around about 30 to 35% of our business is through recommendation, not through agents, but from old customers recommending friends to us. And even to this day, the amount of effort that I've put in the past, directly the amount of business that I get coming to me through recommendation, I'd like to think I could probably survive off that if I was to go back to brokering.
That's it. Once you've got to like the point that you have, realistically, no matter what happens, you've got those guys that are gonna be referring you and transacting. That's the idea. So then, obviously, we're at that company. How did Holo come about? What was the idea? What was the...
So Holo came about, taking a step back on that as well. Obviously, I'm in partnership. I've got a co-founder, Aaron Summerhill. Well known in the market. He's fantastic at what he does.
He was, when I first came, I think I might have come a little bit before you, he was the guy.
Exactly.
There was a couple of guys in, and I always found it strange. Guy who was so far ahead. But I think it comes down to like relationship.
It's funny, mortgages in that company always was almost on a balance with the actual proper sales team, which you not generally see in most companies. But hard workers, and timing was always very good. I think when Adam was here, there was 10% down payments for mortgages. You would have queues of people at the door coming to get their 10% mortgages. So, but we got to know each other, worked at the same company different times. Got to know each other through our friendship network, like Carlos and everybody. Became close friends. We worked at different companies post that. Subsequently, I set up another brokerage, and he had his brokerage. And just throughout time, we just built up frustration of always being customer centric. Why are our customers not getting the best possible services? We always like to use an analogy. I used it recently that you order a pizza online, and you check your app every 5 minutes to see where the driver is. Right, it's close to the door. Right, I'll go to the door and I'll collect it. You're spending 2-3 million on a property, and you're left in the dark.
Yeah.
You know, I've paid my valuation fee. What now? I'm waiting on my FOL. What now? So what we wanted to do was really create that transparency. So when you make an application on our platform, it's all live mortgage products. We'll instantly verify your eligibility for each mortgage product. So you're not having to go to 10 different banks. You're instantly knowing what you can afford based on your income and the banks you're eligible for. Either you can choose that bank and you can go a full digital journey, you upload your documents, our AI will extract all the details, create application forms, and then send that directly off to the bank. Or we've got a team that will help support you. We don't believe it could be right now a fully digital experience.
Today, yeah.
As it stands right now.
A lot of people just want to have that, even if it's just like helping them feel like they're making the right decision. Just
the white glove service.
Yeah.
You know, there is still a bit of a stigma in the Dubai market about how the process is, and you know.
And it's a lot of money for people.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the way prices are going.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about house prices, average house price in the Springs 5 years ago, 2.5 million, for example. You're now looking 6-7 million. You know, the prices are going up, and the stigma's possibly increasing with that.
Yeah.
So they want an assurance that they're making the right decision, and you know, and also we want to have that element of defensibility for the banks and for the customer, that they're choosing the right product.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to go select a product because it looks cheapest on paper, but we want to verify that is the cheapest product for the customer. So that's where the first evolution came from, was creating that transparency, but also from a business point of view is creating efficiencies. The mortgage market as a business is very inefficient, very hands-on. I spent 80% of my time going out trying to find business. So I would go into real estate companies, I'd meet friends, I'd take people for lunch. It was incredibly inefficient because I'd only spend 20% of my time actually processing mortgages. So we thought, how can we flip that on its head and say, right, how can we spend 20% of our time networking, 80% of our time processing mortgages? And that's how we did our digital acquisition. So my biggest regret is not doing this sooner. The day we turned on our digital acquisition strategy, and Google Ad spends, Meta spend, everything like that, the amount of leads we saw coming through, we were like, why have we not done this sooner? And I remember to this day, and I again still speak to this client as well, an accountant, was one of our first customers. And it was me and Aaron that was closing the business at that point. We had an office in Business Bay, it had 4 desks in it. So we were calling the customers, helping them through the journey. And I remember on the first day closing this client, I thought, that would have taken me weeks previously to find a client, to sell a mortgage product, find the right mortgage product. And that's where the product market fit started to take shape. We knew there needed to be evolutions. We knew we needed to create efficiencies. But yeah, fast forward to today, obviously we've still got a long journey to go, and the market's evolving, land departments creating integrations that can help us. But yeah, purely born out of frustration. And also a lot of mis-selling took place in the market. We see that all the time. Yeah. And it's maybe not through purpose, I think it might be through naivety. You know, we've built this business as founders that understand the mortgage and property market. And not just mortgages, we've worked in real estate companies doing mortgages, so we've been really involved in the transactions. Yeah. We know what a good Form F looks like. We know what forms are involved. We know each stage of the transaction, so really heavily involved in every step.
Yeah, that's amazing. When you say a big leap forward, so you went from working in the office for like 4 desks, doing everything yourself. What were the steps? Break it down to where you are now. How did that look? And
I'll try and narrow this down because there's quite a lot of challenges and steps. So we're a venture-backed company. So what that means is we've had outside capital that's enabled us to grow at each stage, and that doesn't come without its own stress and difficulties. Raising funds probably takes away from going about your day-to-day business. But what that allows you to do is put the right people in the right positions. And we believe one of the best decisions we made was getting the right people on board. Because getting wrong people on board can kill your business.
And how did you, first of all, know that was so important? And how did you decide who were the right people?
Do you know what it was? I'd like to turn around and say we knew that was exactly what we were looking for, but I think we had a bit of emotional intelligence when building a business, and it happened. We had a few early adopters, so we brought on, after our first small funding round, we brought on a couple of people we knew within the market. So one being Emma and Chaz, shout them out, they are fantastic. They've been with us since day one. And they really built the foundations of the mortgage team.
Got it.
Along with one of our team leaders, Thomas. And it was just having the right people around us. We spoke about people that we'd worked with before, or people that we knew had an aligning vision with us. And I think what they bought into was the vision that we had. And the vision was to put our customers first, build a strong unit economic business that can sustain and grow within a market. Because at that point, obviously 2020, we launched pre-COVID. We didn't know what was going to happen in 2 or 3 years' time. We thought we've launched a platform for mortgages. In actual fact, everybody was sat at home looking at mortgages.
Yeah.
So we were getting lots of applications. So post that, we moved. Someone asked us the other day, how many offices have you had? We've had around about 10 offices that we've step-stoned up to. And every time we got an office, we thought this will last us a year. Yeah. Last about 3-4 months, unfortunately. So first office, Business Bay. And then we were just plugging the gaps within the business. So each stage of growth, each amount of capital that we could allocate was about plugging gaps. So it would be tech first, and then getting somebody in from marketing, for example. One of our first marketing hires, Mo, fantastic, came from Property Finder, knew the market, understands how to acquire that type of business. Still with us today as well. Our turnover is very, very low. I'd like to think that's because of the culture that we've created. Yeah. Not a company that has a culture written on the wall. It's a case of it's ingrained in what we do. And just plugging those gaps. And as we've done that, it's allowed me and Aaron, for example, to start taking a step back from certain decisions and kind of looking wider. So one of the wider visions for us is to continue our growth within this market, but also start looking at other territories. So we recently built an office in Saudi. We've got a team of 6 in Saudi at the moment. Amazing market. I don't know if you've been across. Amazing opportunity. The people are fantastic. Reminds me of Dubai 10, 15 years ago. Okay. I still get that feel when I go over that. Really? This is a huge opportunity.
And it's become freehold now, some areas, or still leased?
Not necessarily freehold, but you still have the opportunity to buy as an expat. But it's a completely different market. Here we've got 10% locals, 90% expats. Over there it's 90% locals, 10% expats. So it's more like a UK economy rather than a UAE economy. So it would be a different style of marketing, different demographic we'll be going after, but still the same ethos of we want to be the people that provide the best service for people buying homes, and providing that transparent, clear digital journey, as well as that white glove service from start to finish.
How much, obviously, so Saudi, how far in advance are you planning? Are you looking at 5 years, 10 years? Have you got like a full roadmap of where you want to be?
Yeah, you always have a 5-year roadmap, but let's be honest, the amount of pivots you take within that, you see opportunities within it. So if we're 6 months into a year, for example, and we've got a 12-month roadmap, and you see a small opportunity, you're going to have to take it. Yeah. So for example, there might be changes in the market, there might be changes in mortgage products. Recently there was changes in off-plan finance, for example. So that previously wasn't a focus, but it may be a focus going forward, because it creates an opportunity for us to help people with handover payments or off-plan finance, even pre-handover. Yeah. We plan for 5 years. We know the territories we want to go to, but we understand that not everything goes to plan. Having the understanding that to make the pivots quickly and seize opportunities is really important.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What about, so if there's someone watching this that's looking for, starting the process to look for a mortgage, what advice, apart from just code you can?
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy answer. Use holo.com. That's where we go to. We always say the Pepsi challenge. You can speak to your own bank. You see how long it takes for them to respond to you. My view on it is, when you're looking for a mortgage, the first thing you want to know is what's available and how much is it going to cost me. So on our platform, we tell you the rates, the cost of the full purchase, down payment, land department fee, agency fee, valuation fees, everything. Because you want to know, generally what happens is the first stage is you're on one of the portals, you say, I like that property at 3 million. Right. now can I afford that property at 3 million? So they come off the portals and then they start looking for finance, if they're a finance buyer, obviously. With us, they can do that in a minute. They'll see exactly the cost breakdown, and then they can go back to selecting that property. But of course, people have relationships with their own banks. There's other brokers out there that are more offline. There's other brokers that are digitally enabled as well. There's plenty of options, but we'd always give the Pepsi challenge that we do believe in the products that we offer and the service that we offer. I would definitely recommend going on our platform first, because you're going to get the most diverse options.
Okay, yeah, cool, good one.
But make sure you can afford it. That's the number one thing. Don't sign Form Fs until you know exactly what it's going to cost you.
Do you see that quite a lot? Do people do that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I see it in the off-plan market. I don't understand how people can buy a property and not even have the final payment, but even the third, fourth payment. They don't have the money. It's unbelievable.
So with off-plan, I would always say that, first of all, circumstances change. So you might get an 80-20 payment plan. I mean, they don't really tend to do them anymore, do they? But
80-20, yeah.
So more
20-80.
Yeah, 20-80.
No.
So 20 down and then 80 on handover. Now, you don't know if, we can tell you can get a mortgage right now.
But in 3 years.
But in 3 years, can you get that mortgage? I don't know. So you might be forced to sell at that point. So even with the current market, as you say, you've got payment plans. So how it works with off-plan, which would apply for yourself, is central bank caps it that you can go to a loan to value of 50%.
Okay.
Now it's up to the banks at what stage they're comfortable to lend against that 50%. Generally,
banks, different developers.
Exactly. Generally, the development needs to be complete up to 30 to 50% before they'll even look at finance. Then you've got the consideration of how much you've paid. So let's say the stars align, the development's up to 50%, you've paid 50% finance, and then you've got another 50% before handover. The banks can technically step in at that point and finance that project if it's an approved project. So there are options. The problem with mortgages, it's not a problem, you just need to make sure that you tick all the boxes, because there is so many variables. It's not like buying a property where, can I afford the down payment? Can I sign this contract? Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah. Is it vacant? Does it have the size that we need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas with the mortgage, it's, are you employed? Are you self-employed? If you're self-employed, do you have audits? Do you not have audits? What's the loan amount? Do you have an office? Do you not have an office? So many variables that you need to understand.
Costs for like overpaying and
exactly everything that you need to take into consideration. But generally, we do find that. So with us, for example, we have like a 95% approval rate. So anything that goes through our platform that we greenlight that goes to the bank, we have a 95% approval rate. In those situations where you are kind of forward thinking, can I finance this in 3-5 years? I'd always have 2 or 3 plans in place, mortgage being one, selling being another, and friends and family being a third option. Don't go into it thinking, right, I'm going to make this work, because you might not be able to.
That's definitely some good advice. I think too many people, I don't know if it's their agents pushing too hard or people, it's just like...
I don't want to comment on that.
No comment.
I think there is an element of that, unfortunately. And that goes back to the agents that are here for a year or 2 years. Yeah. You have a lot of good agents in this market, a lot of good off-plan agents, especially now. You've probably seen this over the years. When we started, there were probably 4,000 or 5,000 agents in the market, if that.
Max, yeah.
Now you've got 20,000, 25,000 agents. The competition's harder. The good thing with competition is the level of service has to increase.
Yeah.
People have to make a difference. So you are finding that the levels of the agents and depths that they go to help their customers is increasing. So you'd like to think now it doesn't happen as much, but we saw it quite badly 4 or 5 years ago from the aftermath of 2014-15 off-plan sales, where it would come to handover and they're trying to finance it, and you do a valuation and it comes in 50% the value. Just because of the timing in the market, you can't tell what timing in the market when handover takes place, but again, it's just super important to understand everything that could possibly happen.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about the market right now? Where are you seeing it? I know that, again, we spoke about this at the start, no one really knows, but what are you seeing? And obviously you're involved in a big way, so what are you seeing?
I mean, if you look at the data, majority of transactions are off plan. You're looking at like a 60-40 split approximately. Out of that, 40% being secondary. That's our bread and butter. That's the market I love. The reason I love that market is it tends to be end users like us. We both started families recently. Why are we buying homes? Now, our reason for buying homes is probably different to an investor. An investor's coming in to make money. Whereas with us, we've been here over 10 years, probably going to be here another 10 years. So we'll go through the ups and downs.
Fine.
And for me, it's just about bringing up a family in a home that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
So my predictions going forward, I think that us as businesses will be okay in terms of pricing. We might see a bit of stagnation there. There's a lot of global factors we need to take into consideration that we probably cannot predict, and I wouldn't want to predict. Like I said earlier, I don't want to put a prediction on that, but I think if you're buying for the right reasons, it's not anything to be concerned about. If you are looking as a family, which is a lot of transactions that have taken place over the last 5 years. People that lived in apartments that then move into villa communities, or people that said, you know what, during COVID, Dubai handled COVID very, very well.
This is a place I can see
UK never, for example. You know, UK is one of the top buyers in the Middle East. A lot of them have stayed here now and bought properties. So the reason for buying here is changing. And when end users buy properties, they tend to live in them longer. So you're not going to have flipping of properties, so availability of stock in these big areas like your Emirates Living, like your Dubai Hills. Stock does become a bit more scarce. There's no opportunistic investors anymore. There is a lot of them, obviously, but not as many. So you'll probably just see a bit of a stabilisation. I would love to see in the future where the market becomes stable. Where you look at the UK and, you know, there's panic in the UK, but it's 3%. It goes up and down by. You know, house prices they're not that volatile. Apart from 2008, the house prices go up by very little amounts, and it just makes it a lot easier for us as homeowners and home buyers.
Interesting. Where are you staying? Where did you buy?
So I bought in the Springs, which is really strange. I lived in Palm for 5-6 years. I had my son in 2020 in January. And then in March we went into lockdown.
I was going to say right at the
right at the start, and it was at that point that we launched Holo as well. We had new child, we'd just gone into lockdown, you couldn't walk your dog outside, so it was really, really difficult, and I thought, you know, we need to look at villa communities. So we rented for a year in Springs, and this is an area I never ever thought that I would want to live in, and I fell in love with it.
Really?
I love the community, the schools are fantastic for the kids, and so we rented for a year, had an opportunity to buy, used a fantastic agent, and he put up with me we talk about relationships, he put up with me for a long time before I bought the property, but it just shows perseverance. And
Who
again,
was it? Shout them out.
Should I? It works for a company that doesn't work with us, so but
no.
Thomas Pashby. And do you know what, to this day I would always recommend him. He was fantastic. I say to the team, you know, we have a concierge team now that I mentioned. I'd always say, if you're looking in the Springs, speak to him. He's very transparent, not pushy. These are the prices, is what I've got. Showed us a renovated one, an unrenovated one, so I can make the decision. It just made it so much easier. And he ended up getting us a fantastic unit with good terms. And I'll be honest, like, I was panicking at that point, because
what year was this?
So this would have been 2023, 24. It was a rented unit, and at that point I was like, is the market going to go up? Is it going to go down? Like, have we paid the right price? But you know, we've been very fortunate with that in terms of pricing, and you know, it's given me comfort right now, quite frankly, irrespective of the way the market's going. I'm really keen to get something else. I mean, we've got 3 kids now, so I moved into that when we had 2 at that point. I've got 3 kids now. We need to make a bit of an upgrade, and I've got no concerns about the way the market's going, what's going to happen. At that point I was, because I just started a business and I had my first child, but and again, it's down to your circumstances.
100%.
I think that's super important when you're looking at homes, and a good agent will understand that, and a good mortgage advisor will understand that as well. So don't just say what you're looking for. Oh, you want a 2-bed in Springs? Get to know your customer. Oh, your wife's pregnant? Excellent. I would advise maybe think ahead, because you might be having to. These are things to factor in.
It's really interesting.
What about yourself? Where are you at the moment?
Dubai Hills. We're in Maple.
Very nice. Did you buy?
No, we're renting. So with my personal property, I think it's a trap that I was speaking to Finton at Allsop about this the other week, and I was saying it was difficult for me mentally, being so involved in the market before COVID. Times were hard, you know. There was days, there was Emaar villas, to give you I mean, you know, but to give the guys an idea, there was Emaar villas open, ready, vacant, still with Emaar, where the door was open, you had like a list of available, and you couldn't sell them.
Yeah.
With a payment plan, post handover, with like 7% commission or whatever it was. So it was different times, and didn't have the money to buy anything that I would want to live in.
Yeah.
Maybe an investment property. We bought in the UK and we did some other things. But then 2021, had a great year and had some cash. But then I
think we actually spoke at that point. Yeah.
We did. Yeah. We did. And I made a mistake because I was looking at the wrong kind of thing, and it's a lesson that I will always remember, because I was looking at something that would give me cash flow.
Right.
And I remember your advice was, you're just not going to get the cash flow. You're going to pay the mortgage, but you're not going to get any profit.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me look at some other things, which have been great as well. So, but
because you were looking at greens, was it?
No, I think I was looking at Springs, Meadows.
Springs, yes. You wanted to do renovations, I remember. Yeah.
Which was a great idea. I had the right idea back then, but
it would have worked out well as well.
Yeah.
But I think, definitely going back to it, your situation was more family situation.
Yeah.
My opinion, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah. No, but so when it came to the time where I had the money to buy, the market had gone up by probably 2021, mid to end of 2021, probably up by 30%. Because it was a year ago.
It was going up like 100 in the Springs, for example, with us, because we had to pull the trigger. It was like 100,000 a month. Everything was going up by. So you were constantly chasing your tail, and if your budget's tight, then it was really, really difficult unless you can over plan for it.
100%. And the problem was, because I was in it so heavily, I knew the deals that were happening 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and I'd had 5 years of the market declining.
Yeah.
I was still like, okay, it's is it the right time, and hard, and did some different things. So it's like but just didn't buy.
Swings and roundabouts. Property isn't the only asset class that you should invest in.
No, 100%.
So I think we've all probably made a lot of good decisions over the last few years and done okay out of it.
And I remember a guy, really good guy. He bought in Club Villas in Dubai Hills, and he paid 4 million for a 3-bed. He was sat next to me, and at the time I was doing better than him, and he literally put everything into this off-plan launch from Emart at a time where it just wasn't like what it is now. And I remember thinking, this guy's mad.
Because you only look at the Hidden now, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, so you're looking at this, 4 million unit, for example, and you're thinking, right here, right now, it's going to rent for this.
Yeah.
You can't predict if it's going to go up or down, so you just assume that it's going to stay the same.
That's the trap.
Which was the trap.
So he bought it, and this was pre-COVID. This is probably 2017, sort of super early. And I'm like, this guy's mad. And he paid super premium for a golf course basing unit. So the standard ones are about 3. He paid 4 million. And I was like, crazy. Anyway, over the next 4 years, obviously market was just getting slammed. And they were reselling. I was reselling them for 2.6. He paid 4.
Wow.
And he was at a point where putting petrol in a car was an issue sometimes.
Yeah.
And like couldn't come out for brunch. And it's like, then COVID came, and I was like, oh my God.
It's going to get even worse,
this is not good. Then we started to come out of COVID, and he was scraping by. He actually got a job at the developer because he managed to get better plans because he worked with them, which was smart. And came out of COVID and started getting phone calls with buyers. And to be fair to him, so much opportunity to sell. Got back up to his OP, held out.
Yeah.
Got back above his OP, held out, started getting phone calls. And one night he called me, he got one offer from a company, and it was 4.9, and he paid 4. And he'd gone through all of that, and I was like, okay, got to take it. So he called the guy back and was like, tell the guy 5 million, I'll do a deal.
Yeah.
Guy called back 20 minutes later, done deal, 5 million. He checked on his phone, and at the time, he looked and he was like, I want to be a millionaire in English. It's like one of his ambitions. He was like, tell the guy 5 million and 50.
Yeah.
So that with everything, it nets him £1 million. The guy was like, yeah, done. Took £1 million from the deal, then bought 2 other properties on mortgages in the same community, good deals, and pretty much put them on Airbnb. Now those are probably worth, I'll probably say 15 million.
That's crazy.
And the income from the rentals is insane. It doesn't have to work now, literally just from the income.
Yeah.
It's so, but going through those years, I was like,
it's riding it out. It's like the stock market, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's at the moment it's not particularly good. Most people panic sell when you go into net zero.
But the thing is, you're having to put in more, like holding, okay, it's one thing. It's like with crypto, you know, it's like, I paid it, forget it, I'm losing 70%, but it's fine, just keep it.
Yeah.
But when you've got to then put more money in on the same value, so you're not buying it in cheaper, you're not dollar cost averaging, you're just still paying for that higher price. That's what's tough. That's what gets a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look back at those tough times, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And one of my frustrations was, I look at like Jumeirah Islands. Jumeirah Islands, I was doing mortgages in Jumeirah Islands.
7 mil?
No. We had one agreed at 3.7 and the buyer pulled out. He pulled out.
I've got some stories like that.
And we did one at 4 million. We, in fact, did quite a few at 4 million. I remember vividly, it was on low document mortgages, a lot of self-employed people buying them. And I look now and they're like 25, 20 million, and it's
30 mil for a nice renovated.
I mean they are very nice, but it's
you could just never imagine that they'd be below 10. Ever.
And I think that this is a problem that I see in the market at the moment, is that those not even affordable. We talk Springs, for example, that was maybe an entry level community within Emirates Living. It's now not that affordable to enter that market.
What's the starting price? 5? 4
for a 2
It's
bed.
£1 million.
Yeah, £1 million for a 2 bed in Springs. In fact, I remember when I first came to Dubai, I thought Springs was miles away. I lived in Marina and I was like, it's so far away.
You can literally see it. Some buildings.
Whereas obviously Dubai's just moving and moving. What's your thoughts on Dubai South? Because that seems to be a really hot area for us. Most transactions seem to be taking place there.
Interesting, yeah.
On mortgages.
I had a friend buy there last year, and he was asking me, and I thought, to be honest, for a lot of time, I was like talking about this airport. I was like, who wants to be next to an airport? Is that a great selling point? Because that's what they built it around.
The flight path.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if that's a great thing, but I think he's almost, let's say he's made 50% on his purchase price. And then I looked into it a bit more. I actually went and looked at it, and what they're building there is amazing. There's no thought that you're next to an airport. You don't feel it at all. No. You really don't. And on a map it looks close, but in reality it's miles.
It's far away,
a big distance.
And obviously you've got Palm Jebel Ali right beside.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's quite good. The way that they're building there is better than Dubai Hills, for example. Yeah. The facilities, the gym, the swimming pool area, even the the community hall where you have like kids parties. Yeah. It's miles better.
I actually went to a kids party in the community halls. They're amazing.
Yeah. It's like a lounge. It feels great. And yeah, I like it because it's that next. It's probably the Springs 5, 6, 7 years ago. Better quality. Yeah. And villas and townhouses, I think.
It's just that drive. So the one thing that put me off, and again, it's this mindset that unfair bias applies to everything in life, and you have this bias when you've lived city centre that this is really far away, but Talal Al Ghafar was really far away. Sustainable City was really
Hills
far away.
Was far. I had people turning around on Hessa Street, coming from the office in the Marina. We'd meet them like, let's go and take a look at the location. Get to like end of Hessa Street. Cancel the viewing. We're not going to live out here. Forget it.
To be fair, Hessa Street would put me off most things.
But yeah, exactly. I was like, I need a different road to take. But yeah, going back to Dubai South, I watched someone talk about it's not the airport, it's the businesses that will be built around the airport for logistics, for supply chain. There's going to be so much coming where people want to be close. Because at the minute, you're thinking about people working in Business Bay, downtown, Marina. People are going to be working there. And people are going to be travelling from downtown thinking, that's miles away, I'd rather just live next to where I work. So that's, again, thinking ahead.
And I think you'll see a lot of people that live in Dubai, work in Saudi, for example, and depending on where that hub's going to be for flight purposes, you'll see a lot of people try and move towards the airports, whether it is the airport down there or south as well. I've been to the Dubai South airport, and some work needs to be done on it for it to be pleasant.
I flew out of there. Yeah. I reckon it was 2015 with Qatar.
Oh my word.
And it was there's no one around.
It feels like a farmer's shed that's painted blue, which is really difficult. You go to have you been to Abu Dhabi airport recently?
It's
unbelievable.
Not recently, but
it's so nice, and obviously Terminal 3's always been amazing as well. Need to do some work to that, but again, it's a 5-10 year plan. They're not thinking about the here and the now. Yeah. Like if you're buying in Dubai South, you need to be kind of speculative. You need to look at it as, it probably will appreciate at some point. When that will be is when everything comes in around it. But the problem is you get a lot of people, and you look at Arabian ranches, I had friends that they moved away from it because you couldn't order anything on Talabat. I mean,
it's
a very Dubai problem, but it's a frustration.
Yeah, I spoke to him. He's up 50%
yeah.
in like just over a year, and he's saying first thing he said was, "I can't order anything off delivery."
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but
it's a good diet, to be fair.
yeah.
I should move to one of these communities.
Yeah, that would be a good way. Yeah, that would be a good way to keep on top of your macros. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's amazing to see what's happened. I mean, that's probably why we fell in love with Dubai. Is every time you drove down the street, you'd see developers. What's nice to see is the quality has increased.
Yeah.
And everything we talk about, the agents' quality has increased. The properties have increased in quality as well. Competition, yeah. It just drives people to do better. And we speak about your development, the quality. We spoke about it at the very early stages, and you just knew the quality was going to be fantastic. No. And that's driven from the top. I think that's a decision that was made at the top, that we're not going to cut corners. Yeah. This is going to be done the right way. Exactly. Which is amazing to see, because you do start seeing people cut corners, which I think was maybe done 10, 15 years ago. It's not so much happening now.
Yeah, when I look back and I see, because I remember like Dubai Hills, and they were selling villas, and it was just different market dynamics. When the market's dropping, you've got the renders, and then it's like they don't need to deliver on exactly on the renders. Yeah. It's like you can put something similar. It's like, why would you? That was engineered.
Dubai Hills was a crazy one. You were talking about. You spent time with buyers that were looking there way back, and I had a buyer, and it was Maple. I think they were a 5-bed. Direct with developer. Now you'll need to correct me on this. I'm sure it was 2 point something million.
Yeah, 5-bed would have been probably around 2.8.
2.8, around about that. I think it was maybe even cheaper than that. 2.5, 2.6.
2.4 they were.
And I remember at the time that was more than what the secondary market was.
Yeah, it was.
And now this buyer was like, I'm getting messed about on secondary. I'm just going to go to the developer. Good experience, take handover. I didn't
understand it. I was like, how can they sell for higher?
Yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, he took it, and
they kept increasing the price as well.
Yeah, not in line with what the market was at. But now they're 5-6 million, maybe even more. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe 5-6. Yeah.
So I think of these customers in the past, and I'm like, you've done so well.
But you know what? It's funny talking about not knowing the market. Back in those times, so many deals missed over 50,000 dirhams.
Oh,
when you're talking about a Sidra 5-bed 4.2.
Yeah.
And the guy's like 4.1.
Yeah.
All right, 4.15, and the seller's like, no, I've already lost it. I'm losing 30%.
Because it was a buyer's market.
I'm losing 30%. Yeah. No, I just can't do it. And the guy's walked away over 50,000. They're selling at 20 million now.
Yeah.
And but it'll always happen. No matter what the market is, it's the same conversation. Buyers think they're overpaying, sellers think they're getting screwed over.
I've got a story for you.
But it doesn't matter.
I don't know if you'll remember this.
It will never, no one will ever know if they're getting a good deal or not, because the market will be the market.
100%. You've just sparked a memory in my head. You might remember this. We were working together on a deal, you as the agent, me as the mortgage broker, and it was a 2-bed in Marina. It was on the Palm.
Yeah.
What are the buildings on the Palm?
Marina Residence.
Marina Res. I don't know if you remember this, and the guy said, do you know what, I need to go away and have a think about it and pray about it. And honestly, this must have been like 1.4, 1.5 million at that point. Yeah. It was super cheap. And it was probably one of my first deals, so I was like, I need this to survive another month here. This is exactly, I need to eat. And he came back and he was like, I've decided against it, and it absolutely broke me. And it was like over the price. He just felt the price wasn't right, and you look back that 10-year journey, and it was a family purchase. It wasn't an investment; it was a family purchase. And I remember I went with you to view the property. They have the courtyards outside that you can have the parties in. I remember it vividly, and I remember thinking these layouts are fantastic.
The size is unbelievable.
Yeah, still a big fan of Palm and Marina Res, to be honest. But I remember, I love these stories and looking back at the things that used to happen.
We had one. We had one on Golden Mile. Mm-hmm. A local lady who came, and we did a viewing, and everything was going great. We actually opened. It was unoccupied, but the owner was out. We were just showing into the master room. Yeah. We opened the closet, and a black cat ran out. We were like, there's a black cat ran out, and we carried on the viewing. Everything was great. It was perfect for what she wanted. Okay, let's meet tomorrow, because we've got the Form F. okay, perfect, we'll sign the contract. Well, it was an MOU in those days.
Yeah.
We made it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just,
Manual.
which was another story.
Yeah.
Because there was one thing selling the property, another thing to actually sell the contract.
Yeah.
And get the check cashed.
Yeah.
Before you started conveyancing. So we planned to meet. We got there, 10 in the morning, sat down, and she just had a bit of a awkward look on her face, and she said, look, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to buy this property.
Because of the cat?
Yeah. She said, I had a dream last night about a black cat.
Oh no.
And it jumped out. So I called my mum. My mum said the black cat is the sign of a devil.
Yeah.
Or something. So we're not going to buy the cat, and it's probably gone up by 3 times.
It's funny these things that actually make your decision. I got a sales call yesterday. I tell you what it was. It was a software that I wanted to get and use for the company. And I went into it with full intention that I want to actually use the software. And I went online and it said free trial, and I thought, you know what, I'll do a free trial. It's an expensive software. Why not do a free trial? As soon as I got on the call, the guy was fantastic, really nice guy. And then it turns out that it's not a free trial. The call that you're on is the free trial, and you can ask him to do bits on the platform. And it was just that misleading approach that they took to that transaction that I thought, you know what, I really want this software, but that completely put me off. I mean, that was my black cat, was the fake free trial.
Whereas if they just told you from the start, there's no trial, but let's talk it through, we can maybe
100%. That would have been signed yesterday. But instead I'm like, you know what, I really don't want to use it now out of principle. But there's always signs. I believe in signs in most transactions.
She actually bought something else. So I was working with a friend 50-50, and he went ballistic and lost the relationship, and luckily I managed to keep a relationship. Well, we did sell something else.
Good. And that's always a tough one for you guys. When we talk about buyer-sellers side, most transactions are a buyer's agency and a seller's agency in this market now. We looked at the data, and around about 40 to 50% of transactions have 2 different agencies on it, and it tends to be people that have worked together. But it does tarnish relationships when a seller or a buyer makes a decision that neither agent can control. So sometimes it is understanding that and you're not tarnishing a relationship based on these things happening.
Yeah, it is. You sometimes just got to relax. And it can be stressful.
Not be too pushy.
I'm interested to know, since you're kind of really focused on tech, we're building this company, what do you think about tech? How is it going to impact specifically AI? How are we going to see that come into the market?
Do you know what? I think there's a lot of hype about AI at the moment, and everybody's trying to find use cases, and everyone's using AI as a boom word that our company uses AI. There's a fine line between machine learning, automation, and AI. So what is AI and what isn't AI? One of the big things at the moment which I believe is valuable is AI agents. I don't know if you know much about AI agents.
Yeah, I invested into a company, Kendall AI.
Yes.
And they're managing our CRM, so everyone that joins our company gets their own WhatsApp assistant.
Exactly.
To start with, and then there's so many other plans that we want to.
Yeah, so building on the agent AI, every company can have a value to that, and it basically becomes your administrator, and it can do tasks beyond that as well, of course. So every time we look at products, we look at the US, we look at the UK, they tend to be maybe 6 to 12 months ahead in terms of this. There's a fantastic app in the US right now within real estate where you can effectively send a message and say, I've done a viewing in Palm Jumeirah, 2-bed, it's 2.3, send a proposal to this client.
Is this, what's it called, Smart?
It's actually the Serhant one.
Yeah, is it Smart by Serhant?
Smart by Serhant, I think so, yeah. And I'm annoyed by it. It's fantastic. But it's actually, for us, I mean, we've got AI, we use AI, but we want to use it in ways that actually benefits the customer and the company. And you also need to be really careful about, how's the data stored? What data are you passing through AI? Because there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. So the way that I see it at the moment, a lot of AI agents, I would always look at having your own IP, not using externals to do that. So investing in a company like Kendall means that you're involved in that. And using these tools to increase your efficiencies. Because as we mentioned, there is a lot of inefficiencies. I don't see AI ever taking over real estate because it is a very white glove process, and especially in the Middle East. We're not at a stage where people will be comfortable buying online. So it's about using technology, AI, to be the perfect blend between technology and giving that white glove service throughout the process.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you an example of one thing that we did with AI. The first thing that we did with it anyway. Obviously, we've got AI agents, we've got tools that help our team speed it up.
Yeah.
But the first test that we did with it was the application forms. So uploading your documents, filling in an application form, signing that application form. Do you know what? That can take a week, and not because it takes a week. It's just because the customer needs to get the documents together. They need to then
scan it in the right way.
Yes, fill in the application form. It can be confusing. What parts do I fill? What do I not fill? And then I need to sign it. And then they'll probably sit on it for the weekend. Whereas what we've got is we upload all the documents through our platform, instantly produces an application form, filled in completely, sends to the customer then to digitally sign. And what we found is that what was taking a week, and just because of, you know, people having to print out and whatnot, it did take a bit of time. People procrastinate, including myself. Now they do it within a day. So we've saved 7 days off a process, which is effectively a 90-day process, 60 to 90-day process. So the way that I look at it is every tool that we can build that saves 5-6 days, whether it's on the discovery, whether it is on the application process. One of our main focuses now is on the actual process itself, so the conveyance aspect of mortgages and real estate transactions. Where can we save time, and how can we connect all parties into one transaction? Because a lot of the time in transactions, problem is you've got a conveyancer, you've got 2 agents, you've got to go for an NOC. Who's responsible for the NOC? Is it the buyer, the seller's agent? It's just having clear communication guidelines between all parties and saying, right, we've signed the FOL, an AI agent goes out and says, right, we've got an FOL, this is the next step, let's get this done. So that's one of our next main focuses, and how we can use it in a way that actually benefits the company and the customer.
Amazing. That's really, that's really insightful. I'm excited to see how it can help.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm excited to get help.
We're at MVP stage, we need to do a lot more testing, but it definitely adds value if it's done in the correct way, of course. There's a lot of AI out there that we're unsure of whether it is, whether it isn't AI, but I respect everybody that's trying to build that into their company, and there's so many ways it can be done.
And you either try and get involved and implement things and just learn from mistakes and get involved, or you just sit back and get left behind, I think.
Absolutely. I think that's a problem we're going to see in the market. Real estate in its entirety, 95% of companies probably operate in the same way that they've operated in their previous companies, because they're generally set up by people that have left some of the major companies. What is it that they're doing differently? So when we set up Holo, there was no point in us saying, right, we'll be a bricks and mortar mortgage company, we'll go out and meet customers, because everybody's doing that. Like, how can we do it differently? How can we do it efficiently? So the next companies that come in and do that are going to make an impact on real estate. I know there's a few working on it at the moment. I think they'll do incredibly well. There's some large companies that already do it, and they are doing incredibly well, but a lot of people will get left behind if they don't. Yeah,
it's exciting to see.
Exactly.
3 kids, an amazing business. You're a busy man, so I think we'll wrap that up.
Yeah, no, really I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's good to catch up as well.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. That was awesome.